Brown. I'm going to show you how to do a wash in our junk journal. So we're going to open it up just to our first page or maybe your second. You're going to want to put a messy mat in between. You're going to want it flat so you don't want it to fold. You're going to take your watercolor set. Doesn't matter what brand. They all work the same. Even if they're empty like this, watercolor isn't scoopable. It is just water-based. That's why they're called watercolor. So maybe I want to go with a purple wash. So we're going to dip it a couple times to get the palette wet. And a wash is the lightest way you can make a paper tinted. And tinted is just making it super light so it isn't white anymore. See how I barely have any color on my paper? Okay, and I always go back to my main brush to get, or my water to get more. And if I get too much, I'm just gonna get more water on my brush. So like that. So I'm gonna go back and just spread it around with just water. And I don't even need to go back to my palette. And if I put too much water, it might start to tear my paper because you can see that you're gonna start to see through it. So if you're trying to move this around, maybe just leave it. And that can be a nice texture that you have, a visual texture. Okay, and then maybe I wanna do it the other side because you can't really do anything else to this paper until it dries, right? So like that was way too dark. I don't know if you can see that. I'm doing this side. So a wash is more lighter colors and this is more painting. So I'm gonna try and spread that color out. So this would be more of a wash. This is too dark. So I did not use enough water to spread that around. Okay, and see how I'm using my brush really nicely? I'm not scrubbing it, I'm not scooping. I'm just using the side of it to get the most of it. Okay, so usually a wash is like an even color, but I kind of like what happened there. So that's a wash. I'm going to show you a couple other things that you can do when your paper is still wet. I grabbed a stencil, I grabbed a pipette, and I grabbed a straw. Okay, so, excuse me. I poured some liquid watercolor that I have, and I also got a dot marker. You can also use a sponge and paint, but I did not get those out today. So let's start with a stencil. I'm gonna place it where I want on my paper first, and then I need to get this going. There we go, okay? And then I'm just going to lightly dot on top of my stencil where I want it. Okay, and then I'm gonna remove my stencil, and there's my stencil there. And then now maybe I wanna put it over here too. So I'm just lightly dabbing. Have to go over a couple spots a little bit, making sure I get that whole stencil. Okay, so there's my second one. All right, so that was the dot marker with the stencil, or you could use a sponge with paint. That's probably what I'll have you use. So this is how much watercolor I put in my bowl, because I really don't need a lot because it's very concentrated. So I'm going to show you a couple things. So you can pinch your pipette and then let go and it'll fill up. You really don't need that much, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit out. So I'm going to stick this right here, and then I'm going to use my handy dandy straw to blow. See where I have all that buildup? I'm going to keep going, otherwise it might tear my paper. Oh, that didn't work. And then sometimes you might need to turn your paper, but make sure you keep your messy mats underneath. And see how I'm blowing and not sucking because I don't want it in me. It would be gross and yucky. There we go. Okay. So, and maybe I want to do it one other spot just to show you. Okay, and you can do even teeny tiny dots somewhere. Okay, and I only squeeze just a little bit to get a dot out. And I did really hard on that. I did really hard blows. So this was softer, this was lighter, so it got faster to a certain direction. So those are the couple things you can do while your paper is wet.